Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Mm,
Today we're tackling a topic that's become, unfortunately, pretty common in the crypto world.
yeah,
Rug pulls.
yeah,
You hear the term tossed around quite a bit, especially when, you know, a coin's price takes a dip.
oh
People
yeah,
start to panic and suddenly everyone's yelling, rug pull.
right.
But honestly, I think a lot of people misunderstand what a rug pull actually is.
Yeah,
It's not just any price dip.
it's not just when the price goes down. No,
Right.
it's a much more calculated and insidious beast, really.
Right.
Think of it like this. You join a game at a party.
Okay.
It seems fun. People are winning. You decide to put in some money to play along.
Yeah.
You're on the verge of winning big.
Uh-huh.
And suddenly, poof,
Oh, no.
the organizer disappears with everyone's cash,
Wow.
leaving you with nothing but a handful of worthless game tokens.
Ouch.
That's the gut punch of a crypto rug pull.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So it's not just bad luck or, the market being volatile.
Right.
It's a deliberate scam.
A deliberate scam, exactly. And it
Right.
can be devastating.
Right.
We're talking about developers that create these elaborate schemes
Okay.
to build hype lure in investors
Yeah.
and then vanish with their money,
Wow.
leaving everyone holding these worthless tokens.
So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack exactly what rug pulls are,
Yes,
the different forms they take,
absolutely.
and most importantly, arm you with the knowledge to spot the warning signs
Yeah,
and protect yourself,
that's the goal.
for sure.
We'll also take a look at some real-world examples
Okay.
of infamous rug pulls and examine how regulation or the lack thereof plays into all of this.
So let's start by getting a clear understanding of what constitutes a rug pull.
Sure.
What are the telltale signs that set it apart from, say, a project that just simply fails
Right.
due to market forces or, bad management?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
One of the most common types is what we call a liquidity stealing rug pull. To understand this, you first need to kind of grasp the concept of liquidity pools on decentralized exchanges.
Sure.
Basically, these pools hold a bunch of tokens that allow for, smooth trading.
Right, so it's like having enough inventory on hand to fulfill orders.
Precisely. Now, in a liquidity stealing rug pull,
Yeah.
the developers, they pair their token with a more established cryptocurrency,
Right.
like Ethereum on a DX.
Yeah.
They encourage people to buy their new token,
Right.
which injects liquidity into the pool.
Okay.
So far, so good.
Yeah. Seems like a pretty normal launch so far.
Right.
What's the catch?
Well, the catch is they've built in a back door to the system.
Oh.
Once enough liquidity is pooled,
Yeah.
they can drain it all out,
Oh, wow.
leaving investors with worthless tokens that can no longer be traded.
So they basically make off with everyone's Ethereum.
Essentially, yes.
That's pretty brazen.
It is.
Are there any other types of rug pulls we should be aware of?
Absolutely. Another common tactic is limiting sell orders.
Okay.
Developers will write code into the token's smart contract that prevents investors from selling,
Oh, wow.
effectively trapping them.
So people can buy in, but they can't get out.
You got it.
Oh, man.
Meanwhile, the developers can bypass this restriction, pump up the price,
Uh-huh.
sell their own tokens,
Right.
and disappear.
It's a classic pump and dump.
It is a classic pump and dump scheme.
Yeah.
Just dressed up in a crypto coat.
Okay, so we've got liquidity stealing,
Yep.
limiting sell orders.
Mhm.
What else?
Well, there's also a type of rug pull that doesn't involve fancy code manipulation,
Okay.
but rather good old-fashioned market manipulation.
Okay.
They hype up the project, maybe through influencer marketing,
Yeah.
creating a buzz on social media to artificially inflate the price.
Uh-huh.
Once it's high enough,
Yeah.
they dump their massive holdings,
Oh, man.
causing the price to crash
Right.
and again disappear.
So it's a similar outcome
It is.
to the other types of rug pulls.
Yeah.
Just achieved through a different method.
Exactly. The end game is always the same.
Yeah.
The developers enriching themselves at the expense of unsuspecting investors.
That's messed up.
It is.
Seems like the crypto world is just rife with these scams.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of them.
It makes you wonder if there are any genuinely good projects out there.
There are.
Okay.
It's becoming increasingly difficult to separate the wheat from the chaff,
Right.
especially with these more sophisticated rug pulls.
Yeah.
You really have to be careful.
Which is why we're doing this deep dive right.
Exactly.
To arm our listeners with the knowledge to protect themselves.
Precisely.
Awesome.
And speaking of protection, let's move on to some red flags investors should watch out for
Okay.
to avoid becoming victims of these rug pulls.
Sounds good to me. Let's help our listeners separate the legitimate projects from the potential scams.
Absolutely. All right, so let's dive into those red flags.
Okay.
First and foremost, anonymous or pseudonymous developers. If you can't find information about the team behind a project,
Yeah.
or if their credentials are vague, that's a massive red flag.
Makes sense. You want to know who you're trusting with your money.
Exactly.
For sure. What else should we be looking at?
The project's white paper.
Okay.
This document outlines the goals, the tokenomics of the project.
Right.
It's like a business plan for the crypto world.
Okay.
You want to see a well-written document that's easy to understand and free of jargon.
It's got to be more than just a bunch of buzzwords and promises, right?
Exactly. You need to assess the feasibility of the project.
Okay.
Are the goals realistic?
Yeah.
Do they have a solid plan?
Right.
And pay close attention to the tokenomics.
Okay.
How the token is distributed, its supply,
Huh.
and its utility within the ecosystem.
So if the tokenomics seems skewed to benefit the developers, or if, like, a huge chunk of tokens is held by a small group,
Right.
that's a bad sign.
Definitely, it sets the stage for a potential dump
Right.
that could tank the price.
Okay, so anonymous developers, vague white papers, wonky tokenomics.
Mhm.
What else?
The community surrounding the project.
Okay.
A strong community with engaged developers, users, and supporters can be a good indicator of a legitimate project.
Okay, but how do you assess the legitimacy of the community?
Right.
It seems like social media can easily be manipulated these days.
That's true, which is why you can't solely rely on, social media hype.
Right.
Look for genuine discussions.
Yeah, okay.
Critical analysis, a diverse range of perspectives.
Yeah.
If the community feels like an echo chamber or overly promotional, proceed with caution.
So don't just buy into the hype, even if it seems like everyone's jumping on board.
Exactly. It's that FOMO that drives a lot of people into these rug pulls.
Right.
Remember, if something feels off or too good to be true, trust your gut.
Okay, so we've got some red flags to watch out for.
Yeah.
But are there any proactive steps investors can take to protect themselves?
Absolutely.
Beyond just being skeptical, is there anything else we can do to dig deeper and really assess a project?
For those who are a bit more technically inclined,
Yeah.
looking at the project's code can reveal a lot.
Like what?
Well, you can check if the code is open source.
Okay.
That means it's publicly available for anyone to examine.
Right.
If it's not, that's a red flag.
Okay.
You can also look for third-party security audits.
Yeah.
These are independent reviews of the code to identify any vulnerabilities
Yeah.
or potential backdoors that could be exploited in a rug pull.
So it's like getting a second opinion from a trusted expert.
Precisely. And you can even learn to analyze the code yourself.
Wow.
There are resources available online
Wait.
that teach you how to look for common rug pull patterns hidden within the code.
That's pretty hardcore,
It is.
but also very empowering knowing you can actually look under the hood
Right.
and understand how the project works.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your investments
Yeah.
and not relying solely on others to do the due diligence for you.
Right. So we've got our due diligence checklist,
Mhm.
researching the team, scrutinizing the white paper,
Mm-hmm.
assessing the community,
Yeah.
and if you're up for it, even digging into the code.
If you're feeling adventurous.
Yeah. But sometimes, even with all the research in the world,
Yeah.
people still get caught up in these scams.
It happens.
And it often comes down to psychology, right?
It often does.
Scammers are masters of manipulation.
Oh, yeah.
They prey on our emotions,
Absolutely.
our greed,
Mm-hmm.
our FOMO.
Our fear of missing out.
Yeah. And even our desire to do good.
It's true. They'll promise you the moon,
Uh-huh.
make you feel like you're part of an exclusive club,
Right.
and then vanish with your money.
It's like they're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
They're always a few steps ahead, anticipating our moves and exploiting our weaknesses.
So how do we protect ourselves from this psychological warfare?
The first step is awareness.
Okay.
Recognizing that these tactics exist is crucial.
Right.
And then it's about cultivating emotional detachment.
Easier said than done, especially when you see those huge gains flashing before your eyes.
It is, which is why it's important to have a clear investment strategy.
Yeah.
And stick to it.
Right.
Don't get swept away by the hype.
Okay, so emotional detachment, a clear strategy, and always a healthy dose of skepticism.
Always.
Got it.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the role of regulation in this whole rug pull saga.
Okay, yeah, because it seems like the crypto world is still like the Wild West,
It is.
with very few rules in place.
Yeah, the landscape is evolving,
Okay.
but it's definitely a more challenging environment for law enforcement and regulators.
Does that make it easier for these scammers to operate?
It can, but we're seeing more efforts to bring crypto into the mainstream financial system
Okay.
and to hold these bad actors accountable.
So can you give us some examples of these regulatory efforts?
Sure, the European Union's markets in crypto assets regulation, also known as MiCA,
Micah.
is a great example.
Okay.
It aims to create a unified regulatory framework for crypto assets across the EU, covering everything from crypto issuers and trading platforms to custody providers.
So it's a pretty comprehensive approach to bring more oversight to the crypto world.
Exactly, and it addresses some critical issues,
Like what?
like consumer protection, anti-money laundering, and market integrity.
That sounds promising.
It is.
Are there any other regulations or initiatives worth mentioning?
The Financial Action Task Force, or FATF,
Okay.
has issued guidelines for crypto assets
Uh-huh.
that require countries to implement measures for identifying and tracking crypto transactions.
So it's about increasing transparency and making it harder for these scammers to operate anonymously.
Precisely, and while these regulations are still in development and implementation,
Right.
they represent a significant step towards a more regulated and secure crypto landscape.
Okay, so regulation is slowly catching up.
It is.
But what about self-regulation within the crypto industry itself?
Yeah.
Are there any efforts to kind of police the space from within?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Organizations like the Crypto Rating Council are emerging. Great.
Where leading crypto companies collaborate to provide transparency in ratings for crypto assets.
Interesting.
This helps investors make more informed decisions.
So it's like a self-imposed rating system to kind of weed out the potentially risky projects.
Exactly. And then you have organizations like the Blockchain Transparency Institute, which focuses on research and advocacy to promote transparency and accountability in the crypto space.
So it seems like a multi-pronged approach is needed.
I think so.
Government regulations,
Yeah.
industry self-regulation,
Mm-hmm.
and of course individual investor education.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about working together to create a safer and more sustainable crypto ecosystem.
Okay, so we've got regulations and industry initiatives in place.
Right.
But let's face it, rug pulls still happen.
They do.
And they don't just hurt individual investors.
Right.
They have a ripple effect across the entire crypto market.
That's true. One of the biggest impacts is the erosion of trust.
Yeah.
When people lose money in these scams, it casts a shadow over the entire industry. It makes people hesitant to invest,
Exactly.
which hinders the growth and adoption of cryptocurrency.
Exactly. And it also increases market volatility.
Okay.
When a rug pull is exposed, it can trigger panic selling and price crashes,
Uh-huh.
making the market more unstable and unpredictable.
So it creates a vicious cycle of fear and distrust.
It can, which is why it's so important to talk about these issues openly and honestly,
Yeah?
to educate people about the risks, to expose the bad actors,
Right.
and to promote responsible investing practices.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's about building a healthy and sustainable crypto ecosystem
Absolutely.
that benefits everyone.
That benefits everyone. And that brings us to a crucial question.
Okay.
What happens if you've already fallen victim to a rug pull?
Yeah.
Is there any recourse?
That's a tough situation to be in.
It is, unfortunately, recovering your funds can be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Almost impossible once the scammers have vanished.
Right.
But there are still steps you can take.
Like what?
First and foremost, report the scam to the relevant authorities.
Okay.
This might include your local police or the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Even if you don't get your money back, it might help prevent others from falling victim to the same scam, right?
Exactly. And it might help law enforcement agencies build a case against the perpetrators.
So it's not just about recovering your own losses, it's about protecting the community as a whole.
It is.
Okay, what else should victims do?
Documentation is key.
Okay.
Gather all the evidence you have, transaction records,
Uh-huh.
emails, social media posts, anything that can support your claim.
So it's like building a case file even if you don't end up pursuing legal action.
Exactly. And speaking of legal action,
Yeah.
consulting with an attorney who specializes in crypto scams is also an option.
Okay.
They can help you explore your options, whether it's filing a civil lawsuit or joining a class action lawsuit.
Okay, so report the scam, document everything, and explore legal options.
Mm-hmm.
But realistically, how successful are these legal avenues?
It's a tough road, to be honest. Yeah.
Crypto scams are often complex and difficult to prosecute, especially given the cross-border nature of crypto transactions and the anonymity that often shields the perpetrators.
It sounds like a David and Goliath situation.
It can be.
But even if the chances of getting your money back are slim, it's still important to take action, right?
Absolutely. Every report, every piece of evidence, every legal challenge contributes to building a stronger case against these scammers
Yeah.
and hopefully deterring future rug pulls.
Okay, so we've covered the present landscape of rug pulls.
We have.
But I'm curious about what the future holds.
Yeah.
As the crypto world continues to evolve, how do you think rug pulls will adapt and change?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's hard to predict with certainty.
Right.
But one thing is for sure, scammers are always finding new ways to exploit vulnerabilities and stay ahead of the curve.
So they're always innovating just in the wrong direction.
Sadly, yes. And with the rise of artificial intelligence,
Oh, boy.
we might see even more sophisticated scams.
Oh, wow.
Think deepfakes,
Yeah.
social engineering attacks,
Right.
even AI-powered bots spreading misinformation and manipulating markets.
That sounds terrifying.
It is a concern. And then there's the rise of decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs.
DAOs, right?
While DAOs offer many benefits,
Uh-huh.
they can also be exploited for malicious purposes.
So we need to be extra cautious with DAOs, especially given their inherent complexity.
Absolutely. And as crypto becomes more integrated with the traditional financial system,
Right.
we might see scammers leveraging traditional financial instruments
Okay.
to launder money and conduct other illicit activities.
So it's a constant cat and mouse game.
Exactly. As the crypto landscape evolves, so too will the tactics used by scammers.
So what can investors do to protect themselves in this ever-changing environment?
The key is to remain vigilant and informed.
Okay.
Continuously educate yourself about the latest trends and scams. Stay active in reputable crypto communities and forums.
Right.
Follow trusted news sources and security researchers. So never stop learning, basically.
That's right. And as always, diversify your investments.
Okay.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Spread your risk across multiple projects.
Yeah.
And only invest what you can afford to lose.
Solid advice. So we've got to stay informed, be cautious, and diversify our investments. Anything else we should keep in mind?
Remember, the crypto world is still relatively young.
Yeah.
It's like the Wild West out there. There will always be risks involved.
Right. So it's about managing those risks, not eliminating them entirely.
Exactly. But by taking the right precautions and approaching the crypto world with a healthy dose of skepticism, you can mitigate those risks and hopefully reap the rewards of this exciting technology.
Okay, that's reassuring. But beyond just the financial risks, there's also an ethical dimension to rug pulls that we shouldn't overlook.
Absolutely. Rug pulls are not just crimes.
Right.
They're moral transgressions.
Yeah.
They exploit people's trust.
Uh-huh.
They undermine the integrity of the market.
Right.
And they damage the reputation of the entire crypto industry.
It's like they're poisoning the well for everyone.
That's a good way to put it. And that's why it's so important to call out these scams.
Yeah.
To hold the perpetrators accountable and to foster a culture of ethics and responsibility in the crypto world.
It's about creating a sustainable ecosystem that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly. And thankfully, there are initiatives and organizations working towards that goal.
Like who?
Well, you have groups like the Crypto Council for Innovation,
Okay.
a global alliance of crypto leaders promoting responsible regulation and ethical standards.
So they're advocating for a more mature and responsible approach to crypto.
Precisely. And then there's the Blockchain Association, which represents the interests of the blockchain and crypto industry, advocating for policies that promote innovation while protecting consumer.
It's encouraging to see these initiatives emerging.
It is. And as the industry matures, we can expect to see even more efforts to promote ethical practices and to create a more trustworthy and sustainable crypto ecosystem.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We talked about different types of rug pulls,
Yeah.
the red flags to watch out for, the psychological tactics scammers use, the evolving regulatory landscape, the importance of self-regulation, and the ethical implications of these scams.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But I think it's essential information for anyone involved in the crypto world.
I agree. Knowledge is power. And in the world of crypto, that's especially true.
And on that note, I think it's time to move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll delve into some real-world examples of rug pulls and extract some valuable lessons from those cases.
Sounds good. Let's bring these abstract concepts to life with some concrete examples.
Okay, so we've talked about the mechanics of rug pulls and the red flags to watch out for, but I think seeing how these scams play out in the real world can really drive the point home.
Absolutely. Real-world examples help us, connect the dots and see how these seemingly abstract concepts translate into actual financial and emotional damage.
Right. So let's dive into some infamous cases, starting with the Squid Game token rug pull.
Okay.
This one really captured the public's attention, probably because it capitalized on the popularity of that hit Netflix show.
Right. The token's value skyrocketed, fueled by the hype surrounding the show. People were eager to get in on the action, but then as quickly as it rose, the price crashed.
And it turned out the developers had vanished, right?
Exactly.
Leaving investors with worthless tokens.
It was a classic pump and dump scheme, exploiting the FOMO and hype generated by a popular trend.
Okay, so that's an example of a rug pull that leveraged pop culture hype.
Mm-hmm.
What about a case that involved more technical manipulation?
Yeah.
Like draining a liquidity pool?
Well, the Anubis DAO case is a textbook example of that.
Okay.
It was a decentralized autonomous organization that raised nearly $60 million within hours of its launch.
Wow. Sounds impressive.
Sounds impressive, right?
But I'm guessing things went south pretty quickly.
You guessed it. Shortly after raising that money, the liquidity vanished. Poof. Gone.
Wow.
The website went offline and the developers disappeared?
Just like that $60 million evaporated?
Just like that.
It's mind-boggling how these scammers can pull off such elaborate schemes.
It is, and it highlights the need for vigilance.
Yeah.
Even when a project seems promising or has a seemingly legitimate structure like a DAO.
Right. It's a reminder that we can't let our guard down even when dealing with supposedly decentralized entities.
Exactly. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about a case that sent shockwaves through the Turkish crypto community.
Okay.
The ThoughtX exchange rug pull.
This one was huge, right?
Yeah.
I remember reading about it. What exactly happened?
ThoughtX was one of Turkey's largest cryptocurrency exchanges.
Okay.
Its founder, Faruk Fatih Özer, fled the country in 2021.
Right.
Allegedly absconding with billions of dollars of user funds.
Billions.
Billions.
That's almost unfathomable what makes this case so significant.
Well, firstly, the sheer scale of the alleged fraud.
Yeah.
But it also highlights the importance of choosing reputable exchanges and platforms.
Really?
Investors often overlook the security and trustworthiness of the exchanges themselves,
Right.
focusing solely on the tokens they're trading.
So it's like building a house on a shaky foundation.
Exactly.
No matter how strong the structure, if the foundation is weak, it all comes crashing down.
Precisely. Investors need to do their due diligence on exchanges.
Yeah.
Just as thoroughly as they scrutinize the crypto projects themselves.
Right. So check the exchange's history, its security measures, its regulatory compliance.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just blindly trust a platform because it's popular or offers attractive incentives.
Exactly. Now, for our final case study, let's look at something a little different.
Okay.
The Frosties NFT rug pull.
Okay.
This one is interesting because it involved non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs?
And it was one of the first rug pull cases in the U.S. to result in a serious crackdown.
Okay, so tell me more about this Frosties case. How did it unfold?
The creators of Frosties, an NFT project, promised all sorts of rewards, giveaways, and exclusive opportunities to entice buyers.
Okay.
They managed to raise over $1 million from investors.
But I'm sensing a but coming.
You're right. They then abruptly shut down the project and disappeared with the funds.
A classic rug pull, just with NFTs instead of tokens.
Exactly. But what sets this case apart is that the creators were caught.
Oh, wow.
And charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering.
So there were actual legal consequences.
There were.
That's reassuring.
It sends a message that law enforcement is taking these scams seriously, even in the relatively new realm of NFTs.
That's definitely a step in the right direction.
It is, and while we still have a long way to go in terms of regulation and enforcement, the Frosties case shows that progress is being made.
So we've looked at rug pulls fueled by pop culture hype, liquidity pool manipulation, an exchange going rogue, and even scams in the NFT space.
Yeah, it's a diverse landscape.
It's clear that these scams can take many forms and target various aspects of the crypto ecosystem.
Absolutely. And while we can learn from these specific cases, it's important to remember that scammers are constantly evolving their tactics.
Right.
What might be a red flag today could be disguised or modified tomorrow.
That's a sobering thought. So with all that we've discussed, what's the most important piece of advice you would give to someone just starting out in the crypto world?
That's easy. Be skeptical, but don't let fear paralyze you.
Right.
The crypto world offers incredible opportunities, but it also comes with risks.
Right.
Educate yourself, do your research, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Remember, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Great advice. Knowledge truly is power in the crypto world.
It is. And remember, investing should be a journey of learning and discovery, not a reckless gamble.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of crypto rug pulls.
I agree.
We hope this episode has been informative and empowering.
Yeah.
And most importantly, that it helps you navigate the crypto landscape with more confidence and awareness.
Absolutely. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and invest responsibly.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time, happy investing.